All right, today we're going to be talking about how to go from a casual friend with benefits type relationship to a committed one with a man. And today we're going to start off with a question from one of the women in our community where she says, "Hi, so I watch a lot of your videos on relationship stuff. I absolutely love them." Well, thank you. I appreciate you loving them, and I'm glad that you get a lot of value out of them. She says, "But I was wondering if you could make one about friend with benefits, about how it starts off with fuck F buddies, then goes into friend with benefits, and then into a relationship. What are the signs he's getting feelings and wants to be with you more than that? I'm just so interested to know, and I have friends that are too." So that's what we're going to be talking about today. How do things go from being in a casual kind of a situation into being into something where you're actually having a relationship together? So before we get started, if you're serious about getting into the relationship that you've always wanted, make sure that you go to thegoddesscommunity.com and consider joining our community there for free. So you're seeing a guy and you start hooking up casually. That's typically how it goes for a lot of the women in our community. And you're thinking it's fun. Next thing you know, you're kind of catching feelings and you're feeling like really amazing and you start really liking this guy. And maybe he starts really liking you too. However, maybe he still kind of says that you're just kind of friends, or you're just friends with benefits, or it's nothing serious or any of that. How do you know if it's going into something that's real? A lot of the women in our community are actually going through this. A lot of them are like, what's going on? And it's really, it can obviously be really confusing and frustrating. You're not alone in this. There's a lot of women that are going through this kind of a situation, and a lot of them are really, they say that it's really confusing, really frustrating. They don't know what's going on. They're not sure how to kind of deal with it. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the first distinction that I kind of want to talk about here is the difference between a woman's... Oh, first of all, if you're watching this video right now, make sure that you say hi and tell us where you're watching this from in the chat. We love it when you say that, and it's really cool. So how do relationships get built according to women? So most women that I talk to, they have kind of this timeline of events that occurs in a relationship that means to her that things are kind of moving forward, that things are progressing, that she's moving into something deeper with a guy, that it's getting more serious. And it kind of looks something like you meet a guy and you're kind of like friends and there's like this chemistry or emotional connection, and then you start hanging out together, maybe you hook up together, and then you start meeting each other's friends, you start meeting each other's family, he starts spending lots of time with you, he starts talking about you to his friends, he starts like having you hang out with his family members. Next thing you know, there's a ring, and next thing you know, you're married, right? It's kind of like this progressive timeline that a lot of women talk to me about and say that that's kind of like what it means to kind of develop in a relationship. Well, guys have a completely different timeline. So if you think that your timeline is his timeline, then you're definitely going to be confused here. Because for a man, there is no step progression from meeting a woman to being in a deep relationship with her where he's actually committed. It's pretty much 0 to 100. So he knows pretty quickly what kind of a category he slots you into as far as whether he wants to just be friends with benefits, or whether he wants something long-term, or whether he wants to get married. And then he learns a lot of information about you in the first initial dating phases. And then around the 3 to 6 month point, he knows absolutely certain what kind of a relationship that he wants to have with you. And they've actually done studies on this where they've gone out and surveyed men about what period of time they are in the relationship and what thoughts they have in terms of what kind of a relationship that they want. And it's pretty much unanimous that by the 6-month mark, they know exactly what kind of a relationship that they want to have with you. And so the problem that a lot of women kind of run into is they think that because he's showing you to his friends, or that he's showing you to his family, or that he talks to his family or friends about you, or that he spends a whole bunch of time with you, or that he takes you on dates, or that he does any of those things, that means that he's moving towards a relationship with you. It does not mean that. And I know that can be shocking. It can be absolutely shocking to a lot of women, but just because he takes you on dates, just because he introduces you to his family, just because he hangs out and spends lots of time with you, just because he looks at you with googly eyes, none of that means that he wants or is moving towards a real relationship with you. And a lot of women end up being completely delusional about this, and they'll end up wasting months, years, and sometimes even decades in relationships where it's going absolutely nowhere. And I know that can sound really, really bad and really harsh. However, that's the truth of the matter. And so I'm going to tell you here in a minute what you need to do about it so that you don't end up in a situation where you're spending... There's women in our community, just to let you know, there are women, plural, who are in our community who have spent between 12 and 17 years in casual relationships with men, where they thought the relationship was progressing towards marriage, and the guy never ever thought of her as anything more than a casual fling, a friend with benefits. 12 to 17 years. Think about that. Think about spending 12 to 17 years in a situation where you think it's moving towards marriage, but it's not. You don't want to be in that situation, and so I'm going to show you here in a second how to make sure that you don't get stuck in that situation. So first, what I want to tell you is what not to do in this situation. The first thing to not do is try to force it. This usually is what most women that come into our community want to do. They want to try to force or manipulate a man into having the kind of relationship that they want to have with them. And so they'll use games, they'll use manipulation tactics, they'll use just all kinds of different techniques and tactics in order to try to trick this guy or force him to get into the relationship that they want him to be in. And I'm just going to tell you that's a bad way to go. If he figures out what you're doing, he is going to lose all of his trust for you, and he might start playing games with you, or he might just leave and never want to talk to you again, because being in a relationship based on games sucks. So the second thing that you don't want to do is wait it out and hope you end up in a relationship together. And I just told you we've had women that have spent a long, long time in situations where it was going nowhere, and you don't want to be one of those. The third thing that you don't want to do is try to convince him logically that you're good together, or that you should be in a relationship together, or show him all the different things by telling him about how your genetics would be really great with children, or how you guys have so many things in common and that you shouldn't ever leave each other, or any of the other logical arguments that you have about why you guys should be together. That does not work, and it only puts you in a position of weakness and looking needy, and the guy's like, oh, okay, this is where we're going now, right? So you don't want to do that, and you don't want to shame him or attack him for not wanting more with you, right? You set yourself up to be in this situation, and it was a mistake, and he was just doing what he was doing, and you allowed him to get into this kind of situation with you instead of making sure that you're taking care of your own needs. And it sucks. However, attacking him and shaming him isn't going to get you anywhere. It might make you feel better, but if all you want to do is feel better, then you wouldn't be watching this video anyway. So here's what you need to do instead. You need to, and so if you have questions about anything, make sure that you end up putting those questions in the chat. I'm going to be answering questions at the end of this video. If you have questions, put them in the chat. If you're here, make sure that you say hi and tell us where you're from. And also, if you want to get help and advice, personalized help and advice, and lots of great information on how to have the relationship that you want, go to thegoddesscommunity.com and you can join our community for free there. So here's what you want to do. Here's the number one thing that will help you in this situation. You need to put yourself into a position of power, right? There's two kind of ways to do it. We talked about the first way not to do it, which is try to force it, right? You want him to come into this situation, this relationship, with his own free will. You want him to choose the relationship with you, not because he felt like you were playing some kind of game with him, but because he was like, this woman is amazing and I don't want to lose her and I love her to death and I choose her. And so that's what you want. You don't want it to be out of obligation. You want it to come from you being in a position of power. And so the way to have a position of power is to have abundance and the willingness to walk away. Those two things together, combined, put you in a position of power that allows you to have more choice and makes it so that if he says no to this, you can still walk away and maintain your self-respect and have the relationship that you really want. And so the first thing that you need to do in order to put yourself in a position of power is to change your goal, right? A lot of women come to us and their goal is to get this guy. They're like, I need to get him, right? And you need to switch your goal from the guy that you want to the relationship that you want. Because the relationship, in my opinion, is far more important than the guy. Right? A relationship where you're seen, where you're valued, where a man gives you the things that you want. He gives you the relationship that you want, the relationship that you deserve, the relationship that a woman like you should have, right? A committed relationship, a relationship where a guy says, I'm all in this and I'm not leaving and you're amazing and I think that you're one of the most amazing women that I've ever met in my life and I love you and I want to be committed to you for life, right? That's the situation that you should be in. And so some women decide that the man is more important. If that's your decision, that's fine. However, I think that you should put the relationship and having the relationship that you want above the man. So switch the goal. The second thing that you need to start doing is start dating other people. Start dating other men. And this is how you get abundance. And so it's one of the pillars. I'm going to be putting out a program here pretty soon in the next couple of weeks, a new program. It's going to be awesome. One of the pillars of that program is abundance. The abundance principle. And the abundance principle, it's something that you can't rationalize. It's something that you can't visualize. It's something that you have to experience. And the only way you can experience it is by actually having abundance in your life. And so you need to go and start dating other men and create an orbit of men around you who want to be in a relationship with you. That way, once you come back to this situation that you're in, you're not afraid of it blowing up or him disappearing or whatever, because you have an abundance of men already. And I can't tell you how important this is. A lot of women in our community want to skip this step. They just want to focus on him and manipulate him into doing it. And I'm telling you, do the abundance approach. That's where your power comes from. The second step, or the third step, I think we're on the third step here. The third thing that you want to do is stop sleeping with him, stop kissing him, and stop putting yourself in positions to do these things with him. And from now until the end of time, do not get into a sexual relationship with a man if you haven't talked about two things. The first thing being what he's looking for in a relationship. Because most guys will be honest, and if they aren't looking for something long term, they'll be confused, they'll tell you they don't know what they want, they'll tell you all kinds of stupid things, and so you don't end up hooking up with a guy like that. And the second thing that you want to talk about is exclusivity and being exclusive with him. And I talk about that in some of the other videos that I have, but you want to make sure that you have a conversation with him about exclusivity so that you don't end up getting into a situation where he's seeing other people while he's sleeping with other people while you're sleeping with him, because of all kinds of different ramifications, from diseases to him having the power in the situation because you didn't talk about it, and so he's running around hooking up with other people, and that's not what ultimately leads you to having the relationship that you really want. One of the things that I say a lot is friends with benefits is not a stage from meeting a guy to marriage. Most friends with benefits, they've done studies on casual relationships, and they found that casual relationships 1 in 3 times only potentially have the ability to move to a serious relationship. And so my suggestion is that you don't ever get into one of those situations ever again. Never be in that situation, because it pulls your power down, and you're giving him all these things, but you're not getting what you really want in return. And so don't sleep around. Don't get into situations where you're in a friends with benefits relationship or casual relationship or whatever. Don't do that ever again. Okay? So, and then the last thing that you need to do is communicate with him, because if you just pull back and stop doing all these things, he's going to be like, what is she doing? Right? I don't get it. And, he's going to be confused and frustrated, and he's going to be like, why aren't you talking to me about this? And so what you need to do is you need to let him know that you've decided that you don't want a casual relationship anymore. And that means, and that he means a lot to you. You need to tell him that he means a lot to you. You need to tell him that you really like him. You need to tell him that you have feelings for him and that you think he's a very special person in your life, and that you'd love to have a real committed relationship with him. However, that you need to make sure that you're getting what you want as well, and it's not fair to you to have you in a casual relationship with him. And so tell him what you'd like him to have, and have those conversations about exclusivity and what he's looking for again, and make sure that you don't sleep with him again unless he's willing to verbally confirm to you that he's looking for the type of relationship that you want and that he's going to be exclusive with you. And if he's not willing to do that, that's okay. That's why we talk about having the abundance thing in the first place. That way you're not like, oh my God, stuck on him, right? You have an abundance of men. You're connecting with other men. You're dating other men and starting kind of these situations with other men so that you can occupy your time, so that you can connect with other guys, so that you can find a guy who is willing to really give you what it is that you want, because it's very possible that he's going to say, no, look, here's what we did, what we agreed to from the beginning. I just wanted to be in a casual relationship. I'm not ready for something real. And there's a very good possibility that he might say that, and there's a very good possibility that he might say that he doesn't want to lose you and that he wants to keep you in his life. And what ends up happening a lot of times is guys will end up saying, no, I just wanted a casual relationship, and the woman says, fine, that's cool, I'm going to go see other people and I don't want to continue this anymore. And then the guy ends up coming back and being like, okay, like I really miss you and I really want to have you in your life, in my life, and I'm willing to give you what you want. And you don't want to be in a situation where he doesn't say that, and you absolutely have to be willing to walk away. The most powerful position that you can possibly be in is a position of abundance and a position where you're willing to walk away. And if you do those things and you're serious about it and you're not just bluffing, you're not just giving him some kind of ultimatum and then stay with him regardless, that's a position of power, and you're far more likely to get what you want than if you end up just faking it or trying to force it or whatever other kind of crappy tactics are out there that women use these days. So remember, don't force it. Put yourself in a position of power. The best position of power is a position where you have abundance and a willingness to walk away. So that's it. I hope that wasn't too harsh. I know that sometimes talking about these things can be really harsh for a lot of the women that are in here, because it sucks to hear some of the things that we just talked about. And remember, again, so we're going to do question and answer. So if you have any questions about anything, just throw them in the chat, and I'm going to go through that here in a second and talk to you about those things. And again, if you're really serious about wanting to get into a great relationship with a guy, make sure that you go over to thegoddesscommunity.com and join our community if that's something that you're interested in. So, all right. What questions do we have here? All right, great. Lots of women from all over the world again. We've got hello from Michigan, Lorian. So bad with names. Met Monk, one of my favorites from Denmark. Thank you for being here. Says you're just friends. Yep, that's what's going on. Sweden, hello, Miss Ripley. Soul of Sarah says, what if he's dating other women and wants both of you? I feel like he wants her more. Like I said, put yourself in a position of power, because when you're in a position of power, what ends up happening is, so attraction is based on power, right? And it sounds horrible, but it's true. And so the more power you have in the situation, the more likely he is to feel more attraction to you and want to drop everything else, drop everybody else, and go with you. And just do what I talked about in the video, because that's the best way that you can possibly put yourself in a good situation and make sure that you get what it is that you want. So I feel like he wants her more. I walked, but want so badly to give him time and a chance. Well, you can't force him to do it. He has to. If you want a real relationship, a relationship that lasts, a relationship that works, he has to come to you with his own free will, and he has to make a choice about who it is and what he wants. And if he doesn't want to lose you, then he'll make that choice to not lose you. And if he's okay with it, then it's a red flag anyway. You just saved yourself a lot of time and energy and heartbreak, because he wasn't going to put you as a priority in his life anyway, and it was going to be a horrible relationship for you to be in. Stormy says hello from Australia, California, South Africa, Tennessee, Iran, San Diego. Wow, Judy, Josephina, Rebecca. Hello, hello, hello. Shirley, do we have any questions here? Gloria says hi from Connecticut. Yeah. Shireen, Shireen says, well, he's met my family and he's told his family about me. Doesn't mean anything. Literally means nothing. Means nothing. Doesn't mean that you're going anywhere. Shirley says, Matthew, you're very handsome. Thank you. Thank you, Shirley. By the way, everybody, I love compliments. So if you want to compliment me, I will take that anytime. Thank you so much. Lovely Leo Lady says, hi from Palm Springs. Definitely a timely subject. Yes, see, Prissa says, I done all that. See friends, see mom, even sleep at their home. But no title yet. Just like I said, no title yet. But we behaved like boyfriend and girlfriend. And I didn't put pressure just watching him. So what do? Just like what I talk about in the video. This is exactly what I'm talking about right now, right? You're thinking in your mind, oh, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, right? We act like boyfriend and girlfriend. He sees my parents. I see his parents. We must be in a real relationship. Nope, you're not. You're not in a relationship. That's all there is to it. Did it this evening, Miss Ripley says, did it just this evening, trying to walk away from my friend with benefits. Hard, but he doesn't want something for real. I know it's hard. And this is why I say, don't sleep around. Don't get into this situation. It's the worst possible situation. There's two things that you absolutely must do. One is don't get into a situation with a guy where you're sleeping with him without finding out what he wants and talking to him about exclusivity and him agreeing to it. And two, don't move in with a guy without him putting a ring on your finger if you want marriage. Those two things, absolutely essential. Stop doing anything else. I know it's hard to hear, but maybe I gotta be the older uncle, the older brother for some of you ladies in here, because I know that you're all so much younger than I am. So I got to be your older brother and tell you, pass down the wisdom here. Pass down the wisdom. Lorianne says, so we have been friend with benefits for a year. So are you saying there's no chance of progression? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he's already decided what he wants with you. And you need to take care of your own needs first. You need to take care of your own needs first. Because if you let him walk all over you, and then a couple years down the road, you're like, hey, I've wasted years. You don't want to be in that situation. You need to make sure that you're valuing yourself, you're valuing your time, you're valuing your place in the relationship as a woman. And if he's not willing to value that, then you need to be in a position of power where you're willing to walk away. Shirley Brown says, we appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you too. Melody says, this is so incredibly helpful. I'm glad this has been helpful. Rebecca says, he just offered me a key to his house. What do I do next? Are you in a friend with benefits situation? What situation are you in? Here's what I would do. Him giving you a key to his house, basically he's saying he trusts you, right? And he trusts you a lot. And so the question is, right, like I said though, make sure that you don't end up moving in with him if what you want is marriage and he hasn't put a ring on your finger yet. And there's no plan for a marriage and there's no wedding planned and none of that's going on. Don't move in with him. That's my suggestion. Julie says, I'm 52 and divorced. 52 years young. 52 years young. I'm your older brother right now. Typically, the men I date are divorced as well. Is it reasonable to ask a man while beginning to date him if he plans to marry again? Yes, absolutely. It's totally reasonable. You should ask him that. You should find out. Is this something he wants again in his life? You'll be surprised at how many guys are like, I have guys in my family that have been married and divorced. Brothers of mine have been married and divorced 3 or 4 times. I have brothers in my family that are in their 50s. And they will say things like, they're looking for somebody special, or they're looking for somebody and they're willing to get married again if they find the right person. A lot of guys just don't believe that they're going to find that special person anymore. But yeah, I'd ask him about it. I'd talk to him about it. And if he's open about it, which he should be, he'll tell you exactly what he's looking for. And just believe what he says to you. Shireen says, so him being okay, families meeting doesn't prove anything. That's exactly what I'm saying. Melody says, when he contacts me after I've given him space, how should I respond? Should respond warmly and friendly, and yeah, just respond like you would, I mean, if he says that he needs space and you give him space and then he contacts you, like, I would say something like, it's so good to hear from you. It's so great to, like, I love it when you text me, like, like whatever, like I was just thinking about you today. Like, it's so funny that you messaged me. Just message him warmly and come back as long as it's not like a weird situation or a situation where, he kind of disappeared and didn't communicate with you. That's how you want to respond. So Rebecca says, we are in an exclusive relationship and he calls me his girlfriend. Awesome. Prissa says, sincerely, I entered with a friend with benefits with no intention of having feelings. That's how everybody enters friends with benefits situations. Everybody enters them with no intention of having feelings, right? That's why you do it, because you have no intention of having feelings. But it's come. What do? I do not put pressure on him at all. So just go over the video and do exactly what I talked about. Melody says, he has said he thinks I am amazing, but he needs to work on himself now. Love that you value relationship over the guy. Perfect way to say this. That's the only way to do it. Value the relationship over the guy. What do you want? What's more important to you? This guy, or having a relationship where you have a man who sees you and values you and loves you and treats you like a queen? Which one's more important? If I were you, I would say the relationship. Yvonne says, I love your talks. Gladys says, hi Matt, I love your talks. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you guys love my talks. All right, so what else do we have here? Commit to be fit says, great advice. Love watching you here in Hawaii. Thank you. Miss Ripley says, my friend with benefits and I don't sleep around, but I don't trust him when he tells me, and that's because he's always online on his dating app, trying to hook up, looking for a better girl. Like I said, put yourself in a position of power. So what I do here and what I'm going to do moving forward is I'm going to empower you. My goal for all of this stuff is to empower you, because you need to make sure that you are getting what you want. And if you're not getting what you want, you need to put yourself in a position where you absolutely will. And so that's my whole thing, is putting you in a position of power. And so if you're in a situation where you don't have power, which is what it sounds like, Miss Ripley, is that it sounds like you're in a situation where you have this guy and he's doing whatever he wants, and you're kind of like, what do I do about this? How do I get him to be the kind of man that I want him to be? And what I'm telling you is the number one thing that you need to do is put yourself in a position of power, and then everything else is so much easier. Arlene says it's hard enough to get just one, much less in abundance. Well, that's something that you absolutely need to start working on then, because that is so important. It's so important to get yourself into a world of abundance and just start seeing other guys and just start meeting other guys. You're right, it's hard. It can be hard for everybody. It's hard for guys too. It's a difficult thing. Lorianne says, thank you, you're awesome. Thank you. Verena says, tough love. That's what we talk about here. Melody says, you are real, and even though it's hard, we need to hear this. That's why I'm here talking to you about this, because you need to hear it. Yvonne says, "You are awesome, Matt." Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Lice says, "I like your videos very much." Thank you. I'm glad you like my videos. I'm glad they're helpful for you. Stormy says, "Most guys always want to start off casual." That's right. Men want to start off casual because him being in a casual, as soon as sex happens, a man gains massive amounts of power over you. And so all of a sudden, the dynamics of a relationship change as soon as sex happens. You go from being something that isn't a relationship, something that's maybe a friendship or something that's not a romantic relationship, to being in a relationship. So if a guy has sex with you, the faster he has sex with you, the faster he can have whatever kind of relationship that he wants, the faster he is in a position of power, the faster that he gets to dictate whatever terms are in the relationship. And that's why you need to empower yourself by doing the things that I talked about in this video. Wouldn't they get scared away if you try to be too serious too soon? They're only going to get scared away if they're not looking for something serious too, right? Most guys, so I used to teach in the men's dating industry. And one of the things that you need to know is that in the men's dating industry, unanimously, all over the men's dating industry, what they teach to men is that men need to tell women that they're just looking to hang out and have fun. Because as soon as a man starts talking about being serious and being in a relationship, what ends up happening is a switch flips in a woman's mind. And she goes from just hanging out and having fun to all of a sudden being like, okay, is this guy a guy that I want to have in a relationship with me? And she starts looking at his traits and she starts trying to figure out if he's really a good guy for her or not. Right? And so she's less likely to be willing to hook up with him and have fun and do all the things that make it so that it's easier for him to have whatever it is that he wants. And so you have to remember that. However, if you talk to a guy and you ask him what he's ultimately looking for, and he's like, yeah, well, right now I'm just kind of meeting girls casually and I'm just looking to have fun. What you need to say is, well, are you open to something more than that? And if he says yes, then say, what is it that you're open to having, right? And ask him what would create that. Why would you want that? And make sure that it's something that he wants. Like he wants to have this real relationship before you even think about doing something sexually with him. That's my suggestion. If you want to protect yourself and you want to make sure that you're getting yourself into a good situation, make sure you're only doing it with guys who are open to that, because if he's not, he's probably not going to fix whatever the problem is mentally and emotionally that he needs to fix to set himself up so that he actually wants a real relationship, because usually guys don't want real relationships because they've been hurt or because of things that have happened with other women in their past. And so he needs to fix things first. And if you're in this relationship where he's getting all of his sexual and emotional and all of his needs met, and you're not making sure that you are getting your needs met, then he's not going to heal his stuff. And he's just going to continue off doing whatever he wants to because he's getting all of his needs met already. And he doesn't need to do anything else. He doesn't need to fix it because he's having sex and hanging out and having you meet his family and doing all the things that guys get emotional validation from. Okay. So, Lice says, what is the definition of a casual relationship for you? So a casual relationship means that a guy is just looking to hook up and have fun. You're just friends, right? And you're just having fun together. It's not something that's leading towards something serious. It's not something that's leading towards a committed relationship. He's made it clear, or it's not been talked about at all, right? He either makes it clear that he's just looking for something fun and just looking to date around or just looking to hook up or whatever, or it's not talked about. And if it's not talked about, you can absolutely 100% assume that you're in a casual relationship. So Miss Ripley says, he keeps telling me we're just friends. Exactly. And he has no feelings. Exactly. But also gets jealous and afraid I'm dating other guys. Also true to make me jealous. Why? Because he's a human being and he has emotions and he gets jealous like all of us do, and he wants to possess you. He wants to have, it's that saying that everybody keeps saying with the whole, he wants to have his, what is it? He wants to have his milk, why buy the cow when you can have the milk for free? That's what's going on right now. Is he's getting all of his needs met and he's keeping you down. He's keeping you in a position where he's getting what he wants and you're not getting what you want. And that's why I talk about putting yourself in a position of power. Otherwise, you're going to be abused. And you need to make sure that you're not going to be abused. Anne says, does the advice work with people from other cultures and countries? Yes, it absolutely does work. There's some things that are different in other cultures and countries. This is not one of them. This is human psychology. This is biology in the works. This is putting yourself in a position of power. And absolutely, it works in regardless of what country or culture you're from. There are some cultural norms that you need to make sure that you're aware of, depending on what kind of culture you are from. However, this works because it's human psychology. Met Monk says, you surely are one of my favorites too. I just love that you're always here with me. Love that you're always here with me, Met Monk. So Melody says, I hate that guys do this. So confusing and hurtful. Yeah, it is. And it sucks. You know, and there's a lot of things that women do that suck for men as well and is really hurtful to men. And but it's just a part of what's going on. And it does suck. You know, it does suck. And the best thing that you can do is put yourself in a position of power and abundance and the things that we talked about earlier in the video. Marie says, how can you be sure that he is being exclusive if that is the agreement? You can't be sure. You can't. There's no way that you can ever be sure. You have to be able to trust him, and you have to make sure that you're looking for signs and make sure that there's no red flag signs that are popping up, right? Which is why we have communities like our community, because we want to make sure that you're putting yourself in good positions and looking for the right things and talking to other women that aren't in your situation and talking to coaches so that if there's something weird going on, you can talk about it and we can say, hey, there's something weird going on in your situation and you need to stop. You need to stop hanging out with him, or you need to do this, or you need to do that, or you need to put yourself in a position of power. Wake up. Wake up. So Melody says, thank you for being our brother. We need this. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Stormy Firelight says, ha, I'm 39. I'm still your older brother. Letitia says, yes, no ring, no commitment, no way. That's right. Melissa says, you just made me realize so many things and I want to know more, please. Everything you just discussed is exactly what I'm going through, but enough is enough. That's right. And you should go, if you want to know more about what to do, I suggest that you go and join our community at the goddesscommunity.com, and you can join for free. And there's tons of information there. We've got coaches that can help you out. Go check out thegoddesscommunity.com to learn more about how to be part of our community. Letitia says, I love this. You are so right. Why are guys afraid of commitment? Women are afraid of commitment too. Lots of people are afraid of commitment. It's actually one of the big complaints that a lot of guys have in the men's dating industry as well, is a lot of guys are like, why do women just want to go and hook up with lots of guys and sleep around and not be with one guy? And I want a really awesome, amazing, special woman, and I can't see it. There's a lot of stuff on both sides, right? And guys aren't necessarily afraid of commitment. It's just that they take commitment really seriously. And so most guys, they don't want to commit to somebody unless they are really serious about it. One of the difference between a lot of women and men is that a lot of women tend to speak their truth from their feelings and their experience in the moment, right? And a lot of men, their word is their bond. And so if they say something and it gets mixed up, then it's like all of a sudden, as a human being, they value themselves less. And so it's important for a lot of men that if they commit to a relationship, that they're honest and true to it, because if they don't, it's like everybody looks at them as a horrible person. They look at themselves as a horrible person. They end up going to their friends, and their friends are like, yeah, you're kind of a horrible person, right? And so it's important for a lot of guys that if they get into a situation, that it's a good situation for them and that they want to be in the right situation. And so they, it's a big deal, really, right? Like, think about the idea of like marriage, commitment. It's like, you're committing to yourself to somebody for life. There's these women that I've talked to in our community that are like, why are men so afraid of marriage? And it's like, he's committing himself to somebody for life. Like, that's a big deal, right? So you gotta remember, it tends to be a bigger deal for men. Men look at it as a bigger deal. Lovely Leo Lady says, all was great, really like each other, and then went cold, says he wants to talk but never has time, a lot of intense family stuff. Is it possible he really doesn't have time, or is just not that into it? It could be either one, right? And so what you need to do is the things that we talked about in this video, where you're putting yourself into a position of power. Because the more power you have in your relationship, the easier it is to figure out what's going on and to say, hey, this doesn't work for me. And I want a relationship where we have open communication, we're talking about things, we're honest about things, and the more power you have for yourself and the more you have an ability to walk away if it's a bad situation, the more likely he is to like step up and start figuring things out and start, it actually makes him more attracted to you. And so, watch what it is that he does. And yeah, he might have a lot of family stuff, and you need to figure out whether that works for you or not, right? If he's got lots of family stuff, you need to have other things going on and abundance in your life so that you can go out and do other things and hang out with other guys if it's not going to end up working with you. Wow, there's a lot of... Met Monk says, could be your mom. I don't know. You're my little sister, Met Monk. You are my little sister. So, what else do we have here? Hippie Chick says, hi, Matt. The video got cut off last time. Enjoying listening. Thank you. Yeah, we had some technical difficulties. The stream ended up getting cut off completely. It sucks, but, what are you going to do? B says, he initially told me he was looking for a wife. Later it changed. Now I have a title of his fair lady after 8 months. The good thing, I've not agreed to sex even though he's begged for it. Okay. Mrs. Fry says, hi from Washington State. Hello. B says, he now says he doesn't want marriage. My desire is marriage. Well, sounds like he's not the right guy. And this is why you need abundance. What about if a guy says, I love you from the first date? And he already proposed to me after a few dates. So there's one thing that you need to realize about guys. For women, there's kind of this emotional thing. They say that men fall in love with their eyes and women fall in love with their ears. Right? So for a lot of women, it takes time to kind of build up this emotional thing. For guys, a guy looks at a girl, and I've seen this with so many guys. It's happened to me. It's happened to every guy I've ever met, right? Where they look at a girl and they go, oh my God, she's so hot and so amazing. And then they get this idealization in their head about this woman, and they're just like, you know, and they're just like immediately, right? They like get her number. Sometimes they'll just go and approach her and talk to her and get her number. And then he goes home, and I've seen so many guys do this. He goes home, and then he's like, in his mind, he's like thinking about marriage and what your babies are gonna look like and like all these things, right? And he's like visualizing your life together and like these romantic dates that he's gonna take you on. He's gonna take you around the world together and all these things, right? And he's doing this based on this imagination that he has, this idealization of who you are. So he's not doing this based on you. He's doing this based on his image of you, which is different than who you are. And so what needs to happen is you need to slow him down and start connecting with him in a real way, because emotional connections grow over time, right? This is like some kind of biological connection where he sees you and he's immediately like, oh my God, she's amazing, right? And so you need to slow him down and connect with him emotionally, because and start revealing things about yourself, because he's going to start seeing these things about yourself, and he's going to be like, oh, I didn't realize she shows up, 15 to 20 minutes late every single time, everywhere she goes, right? And so it's all these realities are going to start hitting him, like, oh, I didn't realize that she farts in her sleep. I didn't realize that she, like picks her nose when she thinks nobody's looking, but everybody sees, he's going to start seeing all these things about you, right? And so what you need to do, and if he starts seeing those things and the idealization drops, what's going to happen is he's going to disappear. And so what you need to do, if you really like this guy and you're like, okay, I like him, but he's kind of coming on a little bit strong, is you need to slow him down and start connecting with him in a real emotional way. And we talk a lot about this in different things. And if you want like a full kind of system on how to do that, go join our community over at thegoddesscommunity.com. So, guis para crecimiento personal con Sissy. I hope I said all that right. Says, I grew up with that old mentality. I'm older than you, Matt. Psh, you're my little sister, all right? And nothing you say can change that, punk. She says, I don't do friend with benefits, hooking up, nothing. If he walks away, fine. I know my value. Good on you. Good on you. That's awesome. God's Girl says, hi, been in a 2.5-year relationship with friend of 23 years. We've never had sex, close call only. We see each other at church parties and hang out alone once a week, but no commitment in sight. Okay. Sharita says, we are exclusive and just dating right now. Only been 5 months, wanting to see where it goes. If you guys have a question, make sure that you ask an actual question so that I can figure out what it is that you're trying to say to me and answer your question. So only been 5 months, wanting to see where it goes, but did mention not ready for something serious now. Am I crazy to wait a little? You need to do exactly what I talked about in this video and put yourself in a position of power. Just like I talked about, create abundance, create a position of power, and then it won't matter if you're waiting, because you'll be seeing other guys, and another guy will probably come along that's actually looking for something serious right now, and your guy's going to be like, hey, what's going on with you? And you're going to be like, hey, some other guy's snatching me up. Sorry, you should have put the moves on. Yeah, are you crazy to wait a little? How long are you going to wait for? You've been waiting for 5 months. You say only 5 months? I mean, you guys have been dating for 5 months. That's a long time to date for, and for him to say that he doesn't want anything serious now and you still date. I mean, where do you think this is going to go? What most women do is they think, oh, he's going to think that I'm so special that eventually he's going to want something serious for me. And what you need to do is realize that he may or may not. And so you need to make sure you're taking care of yourself. That's what you need to do. So God's girl says, he talked marriage at first, but I wasn't ready. Now what? Oh, okay. So that's part of your question. So 2.5 years, friends, 23 years. We've never had sex, close call only. So you guys are basically friends. He talked marriage at first, but I wasn't ready. Yeah, I mean, bring up the topic again. That's what you want to do, is start talking about it again. Just have the conversation again. And find out where he is and let him, if you're ready now, let him know that you're starting to look around and you're ready now and you're interested in something, and and if he's interested in courting you, then that's something that you'd be interested in too. And let him take the initiative on it. And because what you want to do is you want him to step up as the man. You want him to take the actions, to move things forward, to be the man. The cake cookie, that's what it is, Miss Ripley. The cake. Wants the cake and eat it too. That's what the expression is. I'm like talking about milk and stuff. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Okay, so Melody says, this is so timely. It is spiritual and God is using you to help us. I hope so. Lee says, thank you very much for answering my question. You're welcome. Letitia says, God is using you to help us. Like I said, I hope so. The abundance idea is confusing. How do I have sincere feelings for multiple men? Well, the point of having abundance is that you don't grow too attached to any one man, right? So what you need to do, the reason that you have abundance, and you can't really know it until you have abundance. But once you have abundance, what ends up happening is it goes from like, oh my God, I have to make this happen with this one dude, to like, man, like you're doing weird stuff and I don't really get it. I don't really like it. It feels really gross. I feel kind of like, I don't know. I feel really bad. I feel kind of hurt, kind of like I'm kind of sad when I see you doing this, or I hear you say things like that. And so, I don't know. I really want to experience, this is what I really want and what I want to experience. And I don't know what's going on with you, but it just seems like maybe we're not in alignment anymore. And all of a sudden it goes from this thing where you're trying to force it to happen to being like, hey, I'm not going to, try to turn you into something else. You can kind of do this on your own accord. And if you want to, that's awesome. But if you're not going to, then, it's like, I'm just going to have to date other people, and I'm already doing that. And so, if you ever figure it out, if you ever decide that this is what you really want, and you get it together and you decide that you want to pursue me for a real relationship, that's awesome. I think you're an amazing man, and I'd love to be in a relationship like that with you. But, what you're doing right now just doesn't work for me. Okay, where are we? Where are we? Miss Ripley says, yes, initially for the first 2 months, he told me we dated for a serious relationship, planned for the future, then he changed his mind suddenly. Yeah, walked away but took him back. Yep, because you weren't in a position of power. That's why. That's why he changed his mind, and that's why you walked away but came back. Charlene says, thank you so much, Matthew. Your advice is helping me so much. I'm very happy to hear that, Charlene. Letitia says, right, men bond like sports, hunting. I get that. A big deal for men. Teresa says, I am in my late 59s. Your late 59s? Not sure what that means. Recently started dating again. Most of the men in my age group don't want to even chat with you if you are chatting with other men. How do I deal with that and have the abundance? Well, why do they know that you're chatting with other men? And If he doesn't want you to chat with other men, is he saying that he wants you to be his girlfriend? Is he saying that he wants to be exclusive with you? These are the things that you should be asking them. If they're like, hey, are you seeing other people? And you're like, why? Do you want to be exclusive with me? Are you trying to be in a relationship with me right now? Do you want us to be in a committed relationship? Is that what you're saying? Well, what are you saying? Like, why would you ask me that? Like, I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, and if I may be seeing other men, I may not be, and really unless we are in an exclusive relationship, it's really not, it's not really relevant, And we get women that do this as well, where they get guys and they're like, oh yeah, I was talking to this guy online and I told him I didn't want him seeing other people or whatever. And you're like, what? You mean you haven't even met yet and you want to make sure that he's exclusive with you? Like, it's crazy talk. So walking away is a good thing. If you're not getting your needs met, if you're not getting your needs met, absolutely it's a good thing. You need to get your needs met, and you need to make sure that that is your top priority, that you are taking care of yourself. That's what a woman of value does. A woman of value makes sure that she's getting her needs met. What do you mean to have power as a woman? Rewatch the video from the beginning. I talk about exactly what that means. Teresa says late 50s, not late 59s. Yeah. Miss Ripley says, I've had the power so many times now, but couldn't hold my position. And bam, he gained it back. Do what I talk about in the video and you won't lose it. Lovely Leo lady says, thank you. You're welcome. Tiff Talk says, from Philly. Hello from Philly. Rebecca says, I had a dream. He kept leaving me at a big party we were at. Kind of symbolic because he doesn't want a committed relationship, so he's probably looking for other girls, but he says he's not. Tiff says, what does a guy mean when he says he's trying to stay far away from feelings? He means that he's been hurt in the past and that he's scared of getting hurt again. That's what he means. Okay, we are running past the hour, so thank you everybody for being here. If you're really serious about getting in the relationship that you want to have, make sure that you go to thegoddesscommunity.com and join our community for free there. Check out all the information about it at thegoddesscommunity.com. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I love having you here. I'm so grateful that you allow me to be a part of your journey. I'm so grateful that so many of you are feeling like the advice that I'm giving you is really helping you out. Really, I'm here to empower you and give you the strength and the power to have the relationship that you want to have, making sure that you take care of your needs and get what you want so that you're not struggling, so that you're not going through massive heartbreaks and getting hurt and being in these positions where you feel like you have no power, no strength, no ability to, and you end up being needy and pushing guys out of your life and all that stuff. The stuff that I teach you is about putting yourself in a position where men are going to be more attracted to you. Putting yourself in a position where men are going to be more likely to do the things that you want them to do, like stepping up, like wanting real relationships with you, like all the things that you want guys to do. That's what this stuff does. And that's what this new program that I'm going to be giving away for free, by the way, is going to be doing. It's going to be called the Forever Woman Formula. That's the name that we ended up landing on for this. So thank you everybody that voted in our poll in order to figure out what name we're going to give this. We ended up doing this poll on multiple different social media networks, and the Forever Woman Formula is the one that won. So thank you for that. And and if you want a copy of that, it's going to be probably available in a few weeks when you join our community at thegoddesscommunity.com. We're going to give you that for free. You're going to have access to that forever, and it's going to be some of the best information that I've ever put out, and I think you're absolutely going to be blown away by it, and it's going to be the best information that you could possibly use to have the relationship that you really want, based on all of my years of teaching in this industry. I've been here since 2005 teaching in this industry, and I just want to thank you so much for being here with me, and thank you, and I appreciate you being here, and